Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. I have got Matt with me, and we're going to be talking about machine learning and kind of practical applications that we see in the real world. Before we dive into the questions that I've got for you, Matt, can you give everybody a quick introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Emma. Great to be here. So I am in technology, obviously in artificial intelligence. My background has been through innovation, transformation, my entire time on the corporate sector. And before that, I was in the military. And basically, my entire professional life has been seeking challenges and trying to do difficult things. And it just happens to be that successful digital transformation is one of those challenges. So happy to be here, Emma. Really look forward to our chat.
I gotta say, I thought I was a reader, and then I saw your stack of books, and now I feel intimidated.
Well, I actually don't like books in the background. I kind of felt like maybe I was being pretentious. But when we had our kid, we had a daughter. She's 5 months old now, Sylvie. And so it was between, does dad get an office, or is dad thrown in the guest room and baby gets a full nursery all to herself? And well, here I am with the guest room and bookshelves and everything else crammed in around me. I literally, like, everything is within arm's reach. It's like a little cubicle.
Oh, the things we do for those kids, huh?
Absolutely.
So to get us started, I always like to kind of have like a level setting conversation before we dive into kind of deeper levels. So I mentioned the idea that we're going to be talking about machine learning, and we talked about a little bit of AI, but can you talk through what your definition of machine learning is and how that plays into the larger landscape of AI?
Yeah, absolutely. And to not only level set, but to clarify initially, I have some technical background and I can talk about more technical stuff, but I want to keep everything really at the highest level so anyone stops by can understand what we're talking about really easily. And I find that's also pretty helpful in discussions with businesses, as although technical people might be there, you also got to speak to the business leaders, line of business heads, and everything else. So from my experience and everything that I know, I'd like to start first with artificial intelligence. That's kind of like the big name out there, and we hit the hype cycle a couple of years ago in Gartner, and everybody's talking about AI and what is AI. Well, AI, the simplest definition I think anyone could understand is it's software. It's really complex software. It's software that's doing things that 15, 20 years ago we didn't imagine was even possible, but it's still software. So you've got software, and then you've got AI being a subset of software. And then machine learning is actually another subset under AI. AI covers a lot of different things. So what is machine learning? Well, it's software, right? It's a method of coming up with programs and coding and models to where basically the technology mimics the way that humans understand information and make decisions. So with artificial intelligence, it's kind of mimicking human understanding and comprehension. And machine learning under that is actually coming up. It's a learning and coming up with decisions on its own. And my time in AI and with machine learning has always been a subset where we call it human in the loop, meaning it's not fully automated. People still interact with the technology, so you don't just create a program and it runs off and does its own things. Humans are still interacting, kind of guiding it and giving it guide rails to really do the things that you want it to do.
Wonderful. I gotta get myself off mute before I start asking my next question there.
That's me in every Zoom meeting.
Oh, I know. And I feel like I'm getting worse now as it goes on. I used to be like Johnny on the spot, and now I'm a little bit slower moving. So let's take that definition. Thank you for that. I think that talking at that level where it makes sense to everybody is so critical, especially as we're talking about trying to navigate the waters of digital transformation in an organization, because not everyone's going to be a developer and be able to dig in deep. But can we talk through some use cases that you've seen of how this technology is being used in organizations today?
Yeah, I think that a really good use case that anybody in any level of business would probably understand would be something that revolves around what's called churn. So CHURN, churn. That's when a customer leaves a business. So that could be a small subscription. It could be a large enterprise customer, whatever that might be. If you have customers, the process is to go out, get customers and retain them. But when they leave, that's called churn. And so a specific use case that actually a company I'm working for right now called Tazi has come up with is it takes all of the data and information from their customers, again, whether it's B2C, individuals, or whether it's, enterprise, it doesn't matter. So it takes all this information about whatever customer segment there is, analyzes it, learns, creates patterns, and is able to predict, what people are going to leave. And so what that does is, you can imagine if you have 1,000 customers a year that leave, and there's a machine learning or a software that you can implement, and it identifies 80 or 90% of those people who might leave before they leave. And now you can proactively reach out to them and have a chance to retain those customers. And in business, the most expensive aspect of growing revenue is retaining or getting new customers. So if you can, bypass that huge expense of just having to always get new customers and can retain a larger portion of your customer base, you can imagine the implications can be millions to tens of millions of dollars for even mid-sized businesses. So in a nutshell, it's basically machine learning being used to predict who might leave your company so you can reach out to and hopefully retain or earn back their business. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. And so as we look at organizations trying to blend in AI and maybe multiple subsets, but kind of going back to the context of this machine learning into their digital transformation strategy, what types of outcomes should they be looking to kind of see from the business perspective to ensure that they are doing it successfully?
There's a range of different things to peg your projects to, and it really kind of depends on the scope of the project, the type of the project, the company, and everything else. So I think a couple general, maybe guiding principles would be have it measurable. Absolutely, whatever you're trying to do. Let's discuss churn again. If you're trying to retain 50% or 20% or whatever that might be, that needs to be a metric that's pegged up there, and you need to hold your vendor to that. And make sure it's in the contract. Like if you don't meet these agreed upon KPIs or metrics like this, we're not going through with this project. Another thing would be time frame. So if a company comes in and says, hey, we can do this in 18 months, that's a really high risk project. I would recommend staying away from that. I've seen those projects succeed, for sure. They can succeed. It's just a lot more complicated. Usually cost and labor and everything continues to increase because the longer a project's time frame is, the more not just risk from uncertainty that creeps into it. So the faster that you can get time to implementation, one way that companies try to kind of get around that if it's a longer time frame project is to do a POC, proof of concept, being like a small portion of the project before they roll out the entire thing. That could be a route. But if you are speaking to vendors that can deploy in a couple of months versus a vendor that says it's going to be a year plus, definitely the shorter time frame is your best bet. So the two big things being time frame and mutually agreed upon KPIs between you and your vendor. I think those are really the two biggest keys that I've seen that can derail projects.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Matt, and talking through this with us. I want to encourage anybody who isn't already to come and follow you on LinkedIn and then reach out to either one of us if you've got any questions. We're both pretty active out on LinkedIn, so direct messaging will probably be a good way to get a hold of us. But thank you so much for joining me and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Emma.
If you're looking for expert tips on how to get started with your transformation or looking to hone in on your approach, make sure that you subscribe to our channel to catch our weekly Digital Transformation Talk series, where we interview experts from around the world on how to make it happen.